Okay, so first I want to start with something which we did last week, but one thing which we need to go back to. Shuli, you asked a question, remember? The question was, why do we start the bracha with Hashem who takes away the sleep from our eyes? I looked it up. First of all, I was thinking about another question. I think I mentioned it when we did it. Everyone have a siddur?
Yes.
Yeah. That one of the first brachas are, thank you Hashem for opening our eyes. That we have eyes and we're healthy and we could see. So why are we saying again, thank you Hashem for taking away the sleep from our eyes? So they explain there's two things. Number one is that a person is blessed with healthy eyes that they can see. The second thing is when you wake up in the morning, you have healthy eyes, but there's glue on your eyes. There's glue and you can't, and your eyelids are closed. You have to wash your eyes to be able to see. So this bracha is to take away whatever is blocking my vision, to be able to block it, I should be able to see. Then they say another interesting thing. If you look at this bracha, this long bracha of Yehi Ratzon, in a sense, we're really asking for that we should do things the right way and not do things the wrong way, right? We should not have any sin, and we should not have any avera, and we should not have any itzhara, and we shouldn't have dead people. In a sense, it's like saying, Hashem, thank you for giving me healthy back. Thank you for giving me clothing. Thank you for giving me all these things. And now we need another bracha. If there are people, Hashem gave them all these things, but what would they do with it? They lead a corrupt life. They lead a life which is unfortunately a destructive life. So they have hands and they have feet and they could walk and they could talk and they could see. But unfortunately, what do they do with it? Rahman al-Islam. That we all have Yitzhara. So we're asking for a bracha that everything that you gave us, Hashem, after we thanked Hashem for giving us all these things, then we say, and now help me that I should use all these things in the right way. That's the connection. On the other hand, how do I know what's right and what's wrong? So we said, for that you need to be able to see clearly. It's like you go into a house, you want to know that you're not walking into a trap, you're not going to trip, you're not going to fall. And you want to know if the light is on and you could see, then you know where you're going in the right way. But if the light is not on, and then you don't know where you're going, then of course you can get hurt. So in life, we said that to see and my eyes should be open is not just physically open. It means also to understand what's positive, what's negative, what's productive, what's destructive. So therefore, we started with this bracha, Hashem, give me the eyes to see what's good and what's bad, what's right and what's wrong. And now help me that I should do everything in the right way, not the wrong way. Got it? Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so the next thing after this, we're going to, as I told you, we're not going to do the whole davening, we're just going to do certain pieces that stand out. We're going to go to Matovu. So in the siddur, it's right after the brachas. The first thing we start off is Matovu. In this siddur that I'm having here, it's page 12. I don't know. And the other siddur, is it on a different page?
Mine is also page
12? Yeah. Which you have?
Same one, but.
Yeah, you think so? You have Matovu? You know where?
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Right? So right before Matovu, it says something which we just had a class on that, so that makes it easier. It says to say, Hareini mikabel olai, I accept upon myself the mitzvah of Ahavta l'recha kamecha. I want to explain it because we just explained it yesterday in the Birkot Hashachar class. Okay. Now it begins with the words Matovu alecha Yaakov. How good are your tents, Yaakov? Mishnesecha Yisrael. your place of dwelling, Yisrael. Now, Yaakov and Yisrael both mean the Jewish people. It's not talking about a person. Yaakov Avinu, his name was Yaakov, or his name was sometimes Yisrael. But then there are places where it says Yaakov or Yisrael, that means the Jewish people were the children of Yaakov or the children of Yisrael. So very often in Chumash you'll see the words Bnei Yaakov or Bnei Yisrael. Why don't we say Bnei Abraham or Bnei Yitzchak? Because from Yaakov came the branches of the 12 tribes. So we all go back to Yaakov. And what does it mean? How good are your tents? So, being that we're talking about davening, this is going into davening, the place for a man to daven is in the shul. So the tents of Yaakov, the dwelling place, meaning where Hashem dwells, that's a shul. And that's what we're referring to. We're thanking Hashem that we have a place which is a holy place where we can daven. But really, these words are in Chumash. And the one who said these words was Bilam. Bilam was the prophet in the Parsha Balak. We learned about it regarding Mashiach. He was a non-Jewish prophet. In fact, he was the one who wanted to curse all the Jews. And what did Hashem do? When he opened his mouth to curse, instead of a curse, blessings came out. These are one of the good things that came out of his mouth. Where he said, how beautiful are your tents. So Rashi says, so this is the simple way of explaining it, that he noticed that the tents were set up in such a way that the entrance of one tent was not facing the entrance of another tent. In other words, how they lived in a tzniusdik way, that each one had their private space. And that's what he said, how beautiful are your tents, Yaakov. But I think here that we're saying in the beginning of davening, we're also alluding to the meaning, these are the places where Hashem dwells, which are the shuls and the yeshivas, and that's where we're going to daven. As the next verse says, Ani b'reiv chazdecha, I, with your great kindness, I come to your house, and I bow down in your holy sanctuary. So this is meaning we're coming to the shul, where we're going to pray to you. And then we say, and my prayer to you, Eis Ratzon, is in a very opportune time. Hashem, with your great kindness, answer me in a true way. So, you see these two words, Eis Ratzon, means a time of Hashem's will. What does that mean? Eis Ratzon means that Hashem is there all the time. We can daven to Him all the time. We can ask Him anything we want, whenever, whatever. But there are certain times which are called Eis Ratzon. What does that mean? To use a mashal, of course, Hashem is very different, but Hashem gave us something on earth that we can think of that's similar. With people, you want someone to do you a favor. You need a favor. There are times where, if you can approach this person, that it's going to be a little bit more difficult. And there are times where, if I approach them now, it's more likely that I'll get my favor answered. What is the difference? If something's going on in this person's life, that's, let's say, very exciting, the person's in a very good mood, the king is very happy because his daughter or son just got engaged and they're soon going to have a wedding. So you feel he's so upbeat that if I ask him for something, it'll be easier to get a yes answer. And the king just lost a war and he's very upset that this happened or that happened. I'm asking for a favor, I might get a no answer. So, of course, Hashem is doing something different, but there is such a thing that in Shamayim, in heaven, there are times which are Eis Ratzon, which means it's more conducive for me to pray to Hashem and get my answer more than other times. Hashem's will to give is more open, more pronounced certain times. And one of those times are early in the morning. Basically, mainly is the time that's set aside for tefillah. So that is from once sun rises, usually until like midday. Like the latest time to daven is chatzos, which is Once Chatzos comes, you shouldn't be davening again. Of course, if you missed it, you could daven later also. But the time of davening has an advantage. What?
This is for men, right? Or women should be careful with this.
Women are not so time bound. They don't have to be connected so much to the time. But it's still true that this time of the day, early in the day, is like more conducive for davening.
From which hour?
What we call Zman Tefillah. There's a Zman for davening. The Zman for davening is once day begins, which is, I guess, generally sunrise, and it continues. There's a certain hour, but mainly it's like closer to the midday, to Chatzot Hayom. Yeah.
How do we know that it's like?
These times are found in Gemara. Right, in Halacha. And these are the times called Zman Tefillah, the time for davening.
If it is before Chatzot, then it's like after Chatzot.
If it's before Chasod, then what? It's still in that time, yeah.
Okay.
There's another interesting point is that in Chassidus it talks a lot about the fact that there are three things the way Hashem created the world and how they're all interconnected. And the three things are time, space, and life. Hashem created a world and put us in the world. So the world is made up of time and space. And we and even animals, we have life, and we're inside this world that has life. So these three psukim, one corresponds to time, one corresponds to space, and one corresponds to life. How's that? So obviously the one at the end that says, Eis Rasen, a special time for prayer, that's time. The one that says, I bow down when I come to your tent, that's space. The first one that says, how beautiful are your tents, Yaakov and Yisrael, which is referring to the Jewish people, that's life. As you learn Chassidus, you'll see this comes up more and more, the interconnection between these three things, time, space, and life. Yep.
So what, I guess I'm just wondering, what is the point of the, like, I don't know, this language is very interesting to me because I don't really understand. You're not really asking for anything. Like, I don't know.
What is the point you're saying?
Like, yeah, what is it about? Is it to remind ourselves?
It's in a sense preparing ourselves for davening and saying this is the right time to daven, the shul is the right place to daven, and I want to prepare my neshama that has its connection to Hashem, and with all these three things in place, I'm now approaching my davening.
Mm-hmm.
And the next piece, Adon Olam, is also a preparation for davening, as we'll soon see.
Mm-hmm. Also, I wanted to ask, is it better to daven in a language that you understand and you, I guess, you can meditate about it more? Or is it better to daven in where you like kind of understand what you're saying, but not really?
Yeah.
Not really.
So, Api Halacha, one can fulfill the mitzvah of davening when they daven in any language, Hebrew, English, Spanish, French, Russian, doesn't matter, any language. If it's a question which is better, I would say that it's better to daven in a language that I understand what I'm saying, and then I have more chayes, I have more of a feeling, more inspiration in what I'm saying, than to say words which I don't understand. I know a lot of times people dafka want to say it in the Hebrew, but then what happens is say it in the Hebrew and you don't know what you're saying, and then you don't enjoy the davening. So you're losing more than you're gaining.
But if you, I would say, for some reason when I'm reading Hebrew, it's like I really like I understand it, but I don't. Like I connected it, but I'm not understanding it. I should still do it in English to understand it, even if I connect without understanding.
So that's the key. If I connect more in Hebrew than in English, I should daven in Hebrew. If I connect more in the English because I understand it, I should have it in English.
Even if I don't understand it.
Right. Because if you connect more because you're saying the Hebrew words, for whatever reason, but if that means that gives you more chayis, more inspiration in the davening than the other language, then that's the language you should use. Adon Olam. Is there an extra Hebrew English one here? Anyone see? Yeah, whatever you English. Yeah, anyone. No, the Tilim. That's it, yeah. So Adon Olam is also, thank you, also preparation for davening. In Adon Olam, we sort of declare certain things which are part of the basic principles of belief, but how it relates to davening. So let's see the words inside, and then we'll be able to explain it better. Right after Matovu. What's going on here? It's only for Shabbos and festivals. Okay. No, they have Matovu in the morning. Doesn't matter. I don't know them in the morning. 1 second. No, not a problem. I'll find them. In the morning, okay. Thank you. I don't speak Russian yet, but with time I'll get there. Now we'll stick to this. Let's start off. Adon Olam Hashem Molach B'Terem Kol Yitzur Nivra. Means Hashem, you're the God of the universe, and you were here before anything else was created. Leis Nasa B'Cheftzei Kol, and at that time, everything was made according to Hashem's will. And at that time, Hashem was proclaimed as a king. And after everything will no longer exist, Hashem again will be a king all by himself. He was, he is, and he always will be. He is one, and there's nobody else beside him to compare to him. And he is without a beginning and without an end. He has all the power, and he has all the dominion, which means he controls everything. He's on top of everything. He is my God, an ever-living Redeemer, the strength of my lot in my time of distress. He is my banner and my refuge, my portion on the day that I call to him. I trust my spirit in his hands when I sleep and when I wake up, and with my soul, my body, Hashem is with me. I don't have any fear. So this is, as I'm going to daven, I sort of give myself this introduction to meditate. Let's remember Hashem is the one who created the world. No one else exists beside him. He is the one who is eternal, and therefore he created the world, he created nature, and therefore nothing in the world can stand in his way. He can do whatever it is that he wants. And in fact, he's the only one that can help me. Which means that if I need something, if I need health, if I need money, if I need anything else, he's really the only one that can help me. So why do I go to a doctor? Doctor can also help me? No, but still, we believe Hashem is helping me. But Hashem says to get my help, do what you need to do naturally, which is go to the doctor. Or if Hashem says that, where does my money come from? It comes from Hashem. So why do I have to go work? Because Hashem says, the place that I'm going to give you the money is at work. So go work, and over there I'll give you the money. Which means if I need to go to a doctor, I need to go to a lawyer, I need to go to an army, whatever it is that I need to protect myself or to get what I need, we still believe it's all Hashem, and all the other things are just a way through which Hashem gives me what he wants to give me. And therefore, the only one to really daven to is Hashem. Again, that doesn't mean I'm not going to ask my boss to give me a raise, because that's what you do in the natural way. I need more money to live. Could you please give me more money for my work? But I still believe that whether the boss will say yes or no, all that comes from Hashem. Whether I'll get the raise or not, this comes from Hashem. Whether the doctor will be able to help me comes from Hashem. Will He give the right diagnosis or not? It's all from Hashem. So everything goes back to Hashem. And therefore, I'm also not concerned if, according to nature, the expert in the field says, sorry, we can't help you. It's a lost case. It's not a lost case because Hashem is in control. And there's nothing in the world that can stop Him from doing it. So if I daven to Him, He has the power to give me anything that I need. And that's my meditating on these basic principles of Jewish belief will help me in my davening to know that I can daven to only to Hashem, and I can trust Him that He'll be the one to help me. Is that clear?
You said that for a doctor, the diagnosis comes from Hashem. So if this diagnosis says there's nothing we can do for you, what is that? Wouldn't you think that comes from Hashem saying there's nothing else?
No, what I meant to say is sometimes a person goes to a doctor and the doctor makes a mistake in the diagnosis, and therefore he doesn't give him the right medicine or he doesn't tell him the right thing to do. So this is also a bracha that the doctor gives the right diagnosis. So even when I go to a doctor and he gives me the right diagnosis and everything is fine, it's Hashem's bracha that I go to the right doctor and he gives me the right diagnosis and it helps me. If chas v'shalom Hashem doesn't want me to get that, then even if I go to a doctor, he might end up making a mistake or something else will happen. So ultimately, even when I go to a doctor, I give tzedakah, I say Tehillim and ask Hashem to guide everything and everyone to do the right thing. When the doctor gives a different kind of diagnosis, like there's nothing we can do, we know the famous story with the Tzemach Tzedek. Somebody once came to the Tzemach Tzedek, third Rebbe of Chabad, and he said, they were crying, they went to a doctor, and the doctor said, there's nothing we can do. Like the prognosis is not good. What's going to be the future? So the Tzemach Tzedek said, how do we know that we're even allowed to go to a doctor? If everything's from Hashem, and Hashem made somebody sick, so you're going to someone else to change Hashem's plan? The answer is, there's a pasuk in Chumash, where it says that, and the doctor will heal you, which means the Torah tells us to go to a doctor. So the Tzemach Tzedek said the Torah only says the doctor has permission to heal you. It doesn't say that he has permission to tell you what the future is going to be. That's not in his hands. That's in Hashem's hands. So therefore, even if a doctor chas v'shalom says something about the future in a negative way, we still turn to Hashem because Hashem is in charge. And as we know, many stories, the doctor said what they said, and the Eibishter did what he did, and things turned around. Okay, now we're going to make a little jump. The next thing we're going to go into is Baruch She'amar. So Baruch She'amar, which page is that? It depends which siddur you have. In this siddur that I was using before, the regular siddur, Baruch She'amar is on page 30. If you have this siddur in big or small, no one has this siddur. This is just for Shabbos. So everyone has Baruch She'amar in their siddur? Okay. Baruch She'amar, it's brought down that it's has a very special history to it. Of course, the whole siddur was written by the Anshe Knesset Agdola, which are the men of the Great Assembly. We said that in one of the first classes, that there was a group of 120 sages. Some of them were prophets and Nevi'im. One of them was Mordechai in the story of Purim. So now you know where it was, when it was. And they are the ones that put together the siddur. This particular prayer, it says that a paper appeared out of nowhere, and they saw this as a message from Shemayim that they should put this prayer into the davening. So the words here came straight from Shemayim. And that's why it has special importance in davening. Baruch She'amar. And what is it? It's about us basically thanking Hashem and praising Hashem. Baruch She'amar v'haya olam. Thank you, Hashem. You're the one that you spoke and the world came into existence. Baruch Eimah v'Eisa. Hashem speaks and it makes it happen. What does that mean? That Hashem created the world through speech. Those are called the 10 utterances. Humans, when we speak, things don't necessarily happen. You talk about doing something, but nothing happens. You have to go and do it. But Hashem, He just speaks, and that makes it happen. Baruch Gezer Mekayim. We thank Hashem that He makes good decrees and He fulfills the decrees. Hashem made the creation of the world. Hashem has compassion on the world. Hashem has compassion on everything that's created. Hashem gives reward to all those that have fear of Him. Hashem lives forever. Mekayim l'netzach. Baruch Poidu Matzil. We praise Hashem for the fact that He is a redeemer and He saves us from all kinds of situations. Baruch Shemai, His name shall be blessed. Remember, we spoke about this in the beginning. By the way, the word Baruch here is found 13 times. We say Baruch. And it does say that it corresponds to the 13 attributes of mercy. Yud Gimel Midot Rachamim. But what does it mean we're blessing Hashem? We need to bless Him. He is the source of all blessing. So you remember the answer? Right. We said that Baruch also has another translation. It means to draw down. By pronouncing these attributes, we're drawing it down and revealing these attributes. And the mashal that's given in Chassidus is that every person has usually much more potential than what you see them doing in different areas. And if you notice, for example, let's say a young child, that they have a certain potential and a certain talent in music, in art, in dancing, in singing, whatever it is, and you compliment them and you tell them that you're so good at this, you're really so successful, and you give a lot of compliments, it's not just to inflate their ego. But when you give someone compliments, it has actually an effect on their soul, that those potential come up closer to the surface, helps them develop their potentials. It's not just a psychological thing that's encouraging. It's almost like a wireless connection. And when I speak and I tell you that you're such a good writer, you're such a good singer, it makes that the person's potential for writing and singing comes closer to the surface. And it's easier for me to work on it and make it and develop it.
Wow.
And we even find a story which on the surface will be shocking, that Reb Shimon Bar Yochai was once sitting with his students and they were all praising him and telling him, you're like this and you're like that. Reb Shimon Bar Yochai was a tzaddik. He didn't need people's compliments and people's praises. He didn't need anybody to inflate his ego. So what was that all about? And that's the way it's explained. It wasn't about Chas v'Shalom making him feel good. It was about certain qualities that he had. They wanted to develop and bring out more of those qualities. And by saying it to him that you are this, that, and the other, it brings out those qualities in the person. It makes the person more connected to those qualities, and the qualities are easier to bring them out than actual. So Hashem's qualities are all up there in His spiritual place. We want to bring it down here, that Hashem should save us, Hashem should protect us, Hashem should have compassion on us. So by pronouncing those qualities and those character traits, so to speak, in Hashem, that reveals it and brings it down closer to us. Now, you're going to be learning in halacha, I think. If not, it'll be in this class somewhere. There's certain places in davening where you're not allowed to interrupt. When you start davening, up until Baruch She'amar, if you need to interrupt, you can interrupt.
You can interrupt, like,
Talk. Someone asks you a question, you can give an answer. You shouldn't say it in the middle of a verse, the middle of a pasuk. Come to the end of the pasuk, and you can answer the question. Answer the phone, whatever it is that comes up. Of course, it's better not to be distracted, but you're allowed to interrupt. Once you say Baruch She'amar, you really shouldn't interrupt. Why not? Because from Baruch She'amar until Yishtabach is like one long bracha. It opens up over here and it closes by Yishtabach. It's like we learned the other day about the bracha, about the eyes. It starts off with the bracha on the eyes and finishes off with another baruch. So there's certain brachas that they begin with the word baruch, baruch atah Hashem, and they end with baruch atah Hashem. And this is one of them, but it's a lot in between. But once it's like saying that once I make a bracha, like ala michya, I start off with baruch, baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam, ala michya v'ala kalkala. In that case, you can't interrupt until you finish the bracha because you're in the middle of a bracha. So this is one big bracha from Baruch She'amar until Yishtabach.
So, but you don't have to say everything that's between Baruch She'amar and Yishtabach.
Right.
It's one long bracha.
It doesn't matter, especially when we're first starting and getting used to the idea of davening. Then you just say Baruch. I'm saying Baruch She'amar because this is considered one of the important parts of davening. Which means if I say to myself, listen, I can't do everything from cover to cover, which tefillah is like an important one to say. So one of them are Baruch She'amar. Another one is actually Yishtabach. So you can say Baruch She'amar and Yishtabach, and everything in between will be included. But I think we spoke about this once, that the best thing to do is to just do one thing. And after you get more familiar with it and it's easier and smoother, then you do a second thing. And after that becomes easier and smoother, you do a third thing. Not to try to, like the expression in English is, to bite off more than you can chew. You have to give ourselves time to get there. Right, but for example, there's certain things that once you say Baruch She'amar, even things that are permissible, let's say like answering Amen to a bracha. So there's certain things that we could answer Amen to, certain things we can't. Let's say Baruch Hu, Baruch Shemo. You're not allowed to say once you say Baruch She'amar. Amen you could say.
Until you say Ishtabach, but
Yeah.
after. Okay.
Right.
And you can speak after you say Yishtabach?
No.
Oh, you can't.
No, actually it gets even more strict. So
What changes after you?
let me add this. We're going to learn in the parsha very soon that Yaakov had a dream. And in the dream he saw a ladder. And the ladder, the angels going up and angels going down. What's this ladder? One of the interpretations of the ladder says in the Zohar is that the ladder represents prayer. And the ladder had 4 rungs. Our davening has 4 parts to it. It's divided into 4 parts according to halacha. Part 1 begins here, Baruch She'amar. From Baruch She'amar till Yishtabach is part 1. What's part 2? Part 2 is from Yishtabach until Shema. What's part 3? From Shema until Shemona Esrei is part 3.
Shema and all its brachos?
Yeah.
Or just
And Shemona Esrei itself is part 4. These are the 4 rungs of the ladder. So Shemona Esrei is like the highest point in the ladder. So therefore, as we daven, there are certain things that you can interrupt after Baruch She'amar, certain things you can't. After Yishtabach, there's less things that you can interrupt. After Shema, there's even less things that you can interrupt. And the Shemona Esrei you can't interrupt for anything. Shemona Esrei is compared to like, this whole thing is compared to sometimes like going into the king, going to the palace. So first you go into one chamber, then another chamber, now you're getting closer. Shemona Esrei is like you're walking into the room where the king is sitting on his throne, and you're talking to him face to face. Before Shemona Esrei is getting closer. So as we daven more, the laws of interruption are more strict.
You have to go to the restroom? Go, right?
Yeah.
And certain parts of davening we can interrupt with the bracha Rosh Yatzar. And certain parts we wait till after Shemona and Esrei, and then I make the bracha Rosh Yatzar.
Which part do you don't say Shema?
That would be probably after Yishtabach. in a lot of Siddurim, maybe
Meaning
the ones
after
you
your
have,
Shabbat, we can't.
a lot of Siddurim, in this part of the Siddur, the front or the back, there's a chart. You have it in yours, look at the back.
Oh.
There's a chart
Oh,
that
yeah.
tells you where you can interrupt for what. It's not so simple. It's something you have to memorize. You see it? It's in your. It's not in your siddur. Not the one you have.
The little ones that have.
No. It's the newest siddur, especially the ones that have English translation, have that chart. After that, there's a small little chapter of Tehillim, which is Mizmor the Soda. Mizmor the Soda means this is a song, King David wrote this, of thanks to Hashem. Basically, in the Beis HaMikdash, there were different sacrifices. One sacrifice was called the sacrifice of thanksgiving. What does that mean? That there are certain circumstances that Hashem helped a person in certain circumstances. They have to bring a korban, a sacrifice, and the purpose of that korban is expressing to Hashem, thank you for helping me in that situation. What are the circumstances? I'm going to show it to you inside. The circumstances are four things. One is a person who was sick, seriously sick, and got healed. One is a person who was in jail and got freed. One is a person who was traveling in a desert, which was very dangerous, especially in those days. There's no food, there's no water. And unfortunately, many people died in the desert. And the fourth one is a person who traveled over the ocean and Baruch Hashem came sound and safe on the other side of the ocean. I want to give this out and show you the source for this. Shira. Thank you.
Wait, sorry, so we say that, capital only if those four things happen?
No, we say it every day.
Oh, okay.
But it corresponds to a korban, which is called korban toda, and that korban was brought for these four things.
Right.
So this is a chapter Tehillim. It's in Tehillim, and it's chapter 107. But the custom is that we read this chapter. Do you need more?
Yeah.
We need this chapter on Friday. On Friday afternoon, before we daven mincha, the men say this chapter of Tehillim. And what I underlined and I put the number 1, 2, 3, 4. The first part describes a person that's going in a desert, and he thanks Hashem that he made it. The second part describes a person who was very sick. No, a person was in jail, and he thanks Hashem that he was freed. The third part describes a person who was very sick and was in a lot of pain, and he thanks Hashem for healing him. And the fourth part describes a person who's on the ocean, and there are waves, and there are storms, and Baruch Hashem, he made it. How does this apply today? Really, when it applies today, I don't know why, it generally speaking, applies to men. Only men make the bracha. But there's a bracha, and it's called Hagoymo. I'm going to give that out to you as well. This bracha usually a man will make in front of a Sefer Torah if he was God forbid sick and he was very seriously sick. You don't make it after a cold. This is if it was something very serious, especially life-threatening, and then you were healed, and you make the bracha. The other example would be if a person was traveling over the ocean. Like if you travel from here to Canada, you're not going over an ocean, you don't have to make the bracha. But if you do, you make the bracha. And the other example is the person who's chas v'shalom in jail, obviously. And the same way is traveling over a desert. Now the truth is, Today, we make the bracha, even anything that happens. If there was an accident, a car accident, anything that according to the natural state of things, this person's life was in danger. Let's say, God forbid, someone's in Israel in the war, and there were explosions, and his life was saved. He would make the bracha of Hagayim. Where do they make it? In shul, by the Sefer Torah. And if not, you can make it in front of 10 people.
And if it's there,
What?
if it's there,
Why? If it's what?
woman,
Women, I don't know why women don't make the bracha. Not sure what the reason is. But it's only done by men.
But you don't make it like while you're traveling, you wait until you arrive.
Right, you're right. The bracha is that Hashem, thank God, thank you Hashem, that I'm delivered from the danger of the traveling, of the midbar, or the ocean, or anything else like that.
but men can say the bracha for the woman.
I don't think so. We do find an interesting custom that I think some women after giving birth make that bracha, because that's also a sort of a danger. Today, we live in a different world where, thank God, it's not like it used to be, but years ago, it was very common of really dangerous things happening when a woman was giving birth, unfortunately. And some women do that. They make the bracha. They don't go to shul by the Sefer Torah, or they make a bracha in front of 10 men. So what they do is, either if it's a bris, if the boy is a baby boy, then by the bris they'll make a bracha where there are 10 men. Otherwise, in shul, they make the bracha from their side of the shul, and the men will answer, Amen. I don't know if everyone has that custom, but some do that. This is the question you'll ask Mrs. Sternberg. What does she teach? I don't know what the woman is supposed to do. Now, there's another thing. Anything that happens to a person, that thank God Hashem saved me from a certain danger, from for something that could have gone wrong. I also can thank Hashem, number one, by saying either that chapter that I just showed you, the long one, or saying this little chapter, which is also thanking Hashem. It's also from Tehillim. And that's what we say in davening every day. You know why? Because every day Hashem really saves us. We don't know what's going on, what could have happened, what should have happened. So we thank Hashem every single day for everything that we have. And on the other side of the page, I just showing you the Chumash, where it talks about this carbon, which is called carbon Toda, meaning the carbon of thanksgiving. It's actually brought down that today we don't have a Beis Hamikdash, we can't bring the carbon, but if something happened to a person where he feels like I really owe Hashem a big thank you for what Hashem did to me, they could recite these words from the Chumash, and Hashem considered it as if I brought that sacrifice. There are a lot of miracles that happen that we don't even know that they happened. Especially when we don't know what could have been, what should have been. Sometimes Hashem openly shows us that there was a miracle and I saved your life. But we also say in davening, there are a lot of miracles that only Hashem knows the miracle. What could have happened, what have happened. The Alter Rebbe gave an example of a story of someone that's very common. It can happen to anyone. That there was a man who was a businessman and he used to travel and he would make a lot of money, go back home. And he used to stop by a certain area. And one of the peasants that lived there began to realize that he's a businessman. And every time he goes back and forth, he's actually doing business. So probably he's traveling with a lot of money. And one time decided the next time he comes around, he's going to kill him and take all the money away. What did Hashem do? Hashem made that one of his lamps fell. Everything got on fire. He had to run to save his house. I don't know whatever happened with the fire, but in the meantime, this Jew was driving by and he was busy with saving himself and his family from the fire, so he never was able to do to him what he wanted to do. Now, this person had no idea that there was a miracle here. He really planned to do A, B, and C, and they made that he didn't do it. So the same goes on all day long. We don't know what's going on. We don't know what's decreed in Shemayim. In fact, there's a chapter in Tanya where the Alter Rebbe talks about tzedakah, how we should give tzedakah every single day. And he actually gives this example because you don't know what's going on in heaven, what's meant to happen today. So we give tzedakah that if God forbid, even if we don't have to think about negative things, but by giving tzedakah, we also protect ourselves, even if something was meant to be. But this we only do, only if something special happened. But the little chapter, like you said, Mizmor Soda, we do every day, because every day we have what to thank Hashem for. And especially that we don't know what would have been, what could have been, and so on. Okay, we'll stop here. To be continued.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rabbi. Thank you. It's simcha. Thank you. Toda Rabba.
You're very welcome. Yeah.
Oh, Simcha Jones, right, at least for the beginning. She said oh, I thought the goal was to continue. Okay. You had tea?